Hello, this is my midterm video about my video game that I made called Slime. It's about a slime who is thrown into a dungeon and has to fight adventurers in order to get back home. As you can see, I used branch and gate method and it's pretty extensive. I started out trying to make this more like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, where there's a lot of choices, a lot of different options, and after spending a couple hours on just this beginning part right here, it was only about a minute's worth of gameplay, or a minute and a half depending on who played. So I decided that maybe it was time to make it more like a interactive story, which is exactly what I did. There are multiple ways to get to 4 different endings. So I will be showing you one way to get to one of the endings, and it's probably the simplest way, just because I don't want to reveal any of the secrets until the end. Here we go. So Iggy the slime falls down from a roof of a dungeon cell and goes splat onto the floor. He retorts back to his spherical form. Iggy shivers. This is colder than home. Where is he now? Where is home? How did he get here? Find a way out. So you can look around or you can jump. Personally, I like the jump animation, but most people would probably look around. Iggy leaps into the air and falls flat on the ground again, retorting back to himself. Then you can wall jump if you want. Iggy jumps onto the wall and begins to slide down. Wall jump again, or accept your fate and slide down. Most people at that point like to wall jump again. Iggy wall jumps once more, climbing higher. He begins to slide down once more. Accept your fate, slide down, jump down. Iggy jumps down onto the ground and splat, flat again. A piece of Iggy flies underneath the door and then retorts back. Iggy wonders if this is useful. So you can either jump in front of the door, or you can see if you can morph under the door. I want to see if I can morph under the door. Iggy morphs under the door and squeezes himself over to the other side. You can find yourself in a dark hallway barely lit by torches. Now where's the way out? You can go left, or you can go right. I'm gonna go right. Iggy slides down the hall and runs into an adventuring party. A paladin, fighter, and a wizard. Oh hi, excuse me, is that the way? Monster! Get him! So you can either try to fight, or you can run away. For the sake of this video, I'm gonna try to fight, because that is the simplest way to get out of here. So Iggy tosses a few pieces of himself in the eyes of the adventuring party. The slime gets stuck to their eyes. The adventuring party howls in pain and tries to get Iggy off of their eyes. Iggy takes the opportunity to squeeze by the adventuring party where they cannot see him. So now you can keep going. Iggy travels down the hall, leaving a trail of slime behind. The walls are damp, dripping with moisture as if Iggy is underground, perhaps just underneath it. A few rats scurry by, sniffing Iggy's general direction. The first stands on end at the smell, and they scamper off down the hall towards the adventuring party. In the distance, you hear the adventuring party finally get the pieces of Iggy off of them, and the rats squeak in horror. Then a squish in the distance. The adventuring party must have taken care of the rodent problem. Iggy reaches the end of the hall and sees a large circular door at the top of the ceiling. It looks as if it were a giant rabbit hole at some point. Perhaps this dungeon used to be a burrow. On the door is an abnormally large keyhole. Something big must hold the key to get this door. But there is no other creature in sight. In fact, this is where the dungeon ends. So already you're at the end of the dungeon if you take this route. You could either jump up towards the lock, or you can wall jump up towards the lock. Wall jumping up towards the lock will have an automatic success because you have a better chance at jumping that distance. Iggy wall jumps and begins to slide down the wall, but hops up onto the giant lock, his body latching onto the side of the cold copper metal. Light peeks through from the outside, making Iggy iridescent. Iggy climbs up through the keyhole and is blinded by the gloomy sunlight from the outside world. Iggy splats onto the ground. Disoriented, Iggy looks around at his new surroundings. All around him are grapevines and rose thorns. This is highly unlike his garden at home. His garden wasn't so prickly. He enjoyed carrots and beets, much like his neighbor the hare. Oh, how he missed his banter right now. After looking around further, Iggy cannot help but feel as if he's being watched. I'm gonna investigate. As you can see, there is only one option there. This is the point where I thought, number one, players were barreling through the beginning portion where there's multiple options because there's so little text on the screen. So they're just clicking away rather than reading. So this, entries like this makes them read, and having smaller options makes it a little less troublesome for me. As much as I love an extensive branching gate method, this it helped my sanity more when I was writing this video game. Iggy peers through the rose thorns and sees a pair of large eyes filled with bloodlust. The eyes narrow when Iggy spots them. A large Flemish giant rabbit bounds over the roses high into the air and lands firmly in front of Iggy. Loose dirt flies into the air. Iggy coughs from it and shakes in fear, his body shaking like jelly. The rabbit peers closely at Iggy. You notice a large key on a chain around its neck. That must be the key to the dungeon. Good thing you have no use for it. You must be the new hire. Pleased to meet you. I'm Poppy. What you doing here? Iggy shivers. New hire? What do you mean? The rabbit relaxes and waves his large paw. His nails haven't been trimmed in a while. They look a little more like claws. Oh, you know, the witch that brought you here. She's nice, eh? Took me in off the streets to fight off unwanted guests in exchange for some carrots. Good way to make a living, if you ask me. Aren't you supposed to be in the dungeon, though? The rabbit looks back at you and begins to tap its foot, waiting for an answer. So here you can either lie or tell the truth. I think I'm gonna lie this time. Iggy shakes his head. No, ma'am. The witch requested an audience with me, you see. There's a special initiating process I must go through before I live here. Sort of like the contract you made with the carrots. Poppy hits her paw on her head and her ear twitches. Right, of course. Duh. Walk right on by me and up to the house. I'm sure she'll fancy a visit from her new hire. Make a good impression, and don't try any funny business, or she'll throw you right into the force field. Poppy moves out of the way. Force field? Poppy points to the sky around the property. Iggy looks up and sees a large dome of electric currents surrounding the property. Iggy gulps and continues to move forward. So you can either take the dirt path or go through the grapevines. So if you take the dirt path, you're going to get a more sentimental option where you're learning more about Iggy and you're forming more of a connection with him. If you go through the grapevines, you're going to find a little secret garden. But I will not be telling you the contents because I want you to find that for yourself if you choose that path. Iggy continues on his dirt path, his slime trailing behind in the dirt. So here you can either ask him about home or you can continue and look around. I prefer asking him about home because I like getting to know the characters that I play. I like getting to know the writer through their writing. So this is kind of what I wanted to do. Well, I have a carrot and beet garden that the kids love to play in. My wife doesn't like them to get dirty, though, because she doesn't want mud tracked through the house, as if our slime doesn't cover the ground as is. It's a quiet life, certainly not like this. Hopefully I can get home and see them again. Wherever home is from here, anyway. The dirt path ends in front of the large wooden steps that lead to the witch's wraparound porch. What a horrible foundation for such a large house. Shouldn't something this large have a masonry foundation? So already you're getting kind of like a little sassy, posh vibe from him talking to you. I just thought this was a funny option. Good lord, despairful indeed. Perhaps you would like to stay here with the witch, then. I would like to go home first, though. Maybe we'll say goodbye at the end of our journey. Iggy climbs up the stairs one at a time, leaving a slime trail behind. Iggy manages to reach the top of the wraparound porch without a single splinter. He jumps in delight. At least something went right for me today. He looks up at the door to the witch's home, a large hand-carved door with a spiral leading to the center with a purple gemstone. It glows in Iggy's presence. So the gem begins to speak and says, a machine full of metal that contains blood and bones, a creature who fights for others for his own life he does not own. Fun fact, this is actually from my Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And I had a puzzle similar to this. It was a little more elaborate, but my boyfriend actually made this riddle for me for the campaign because I'm not very good with riddles, but I really wanted to use it again. So I used it here. What is this? A riddle? Yes. Oh. So, I want to explain the options. A knight is the actual answer. A meat grinder is something my friend guessed, which honestly I could see the answer for, but it's a little morbid. But if you click on the option, the gem says, geez, you're morbid. No, try again. He replies, you're the one with the morbid riddle. I just thought it was a cute little response to my friend's answer that he came up with. Gem glows red now. Do not test me, slime, or I'll smite you here and now. Iggy jumps in fear. Now, what is your answer? So now I only give the right answer, so players aren't stuck here for a little bit. And also, it just continues the story forward. So the gem says, correct, you may enter. The gem makes the door creak open just enough for Iggy to squeeze by. Iggy quickly goes inside and the door slams behind him. What a rude door! The witch's house is large and dark. Chandeliers and candelabras are the only light throughout the foyer. 2 empty life-size nightstands on either side of the front door. The runner leads straight to a mahogany staircase with royal purple carpet. Up at the top of the stairs is an oil painting of a witch with raven hair, silver skin, and a black witch hat. Think a nice fairy lives here? Iggy sighs at his sarcasm. Okay, here I go. Iggy bounces step by step on the top of the stairs where the witch portrait sits. There's a long hallway going to the left and right. To the right is a door wide open. Green, crackling light emanates from it and a low fog rolls out of the door. To the left is a solid gold door with intricate swirling designs and a large gold padlock with a keyhole. There does not seem to be any crack under the door. So this time I don't give an option to go to the gold door because there's no way you can morph under the door. There's no way you can morph into the lock. It is impossible to get in there without a key. So your only option is to go right to the crackling light. So Iggy gulps nervously and inches towards the crackling doorway. Bolts of lightning shoot out the door. Eek! Iggy jumps and hides next to the door frame. The lightning stops for a moment. Who's there? Come out now. Iggy hesitates but peeks around the door frame. The witch in question is standing behind the cauldron, looking exactly as she did in her portrait. She laughs at Iggy. Rather cackles. Oh, it's you, my little slime. How did you get out of your cage? You're more slippery than I thought. So this is where you'll pick based on your results from the dungeon. So there's I found the witch coin, I found the crown, I found the witch and the crown, and then I found none of these. If you take the fighting route, you will find none of these. But if you go left and explore the dungeon, you have a chance of finding the witch coin and the crown. Or neither, depending on if you choose not to loot anything, which I don't recommend. But either way, you're gonna get a good ending. Originally, I didn't want there to be all good endings. I wanted there to be one bad ending where Iggy does die. But at this point, I hoped that players tried to go and explore the dungeon where they get to know a little more about Iggy and his personality, so they have more of an emotional connection to him, and they don't want him to die. It's supposed to be a cute little cozy game, so I didn't want there to be death in it after thinking about it. But here you're gonna pick I found none of these. Iggy's body shakes nervously. I want to go home. This is your home now, and I brought you here to protect it. Slime are very useful in fighting against those pesky adventurers that want to access my portal. This is where you learn that the witch does have a motive for kidnapping Iggy. I don't want any part of it. Besides, I'm too skittish to fight against adventurers. A little spell can take care of that. The witch waves a crooked black wand and sparks fly towards you. You can either try to dodge or hold still. I will give a spoiler for this. No matter what, you're gonna get hit. Which is fine. I'm gonna hold still. The sparks from the wand fly at Iggy and pow! All you see is red and stars dancing around Iggy's head. When your vision comes to, you notice Iggy is much larger than before, almost as big as the witch herself. There! She twirls her wand in between her fingers. Now you can swallow adventurers whole if you'd like. I'm sure Poppy would love to have a new playmate. Now go back to your cell. So here you can either go back to your cell, which I don't recommend if you want a happy ending. This is my sad ending that I wanted without death. But I am going to show you this one, where you try to fight the witch without a witch coin and without a crown. If you go back to your cell, you just spend your days in that cell for the rest of Iggy's life, which is pretty sad. So I won't show that ending. Iggy throws a glob of himself at the witch. The witch, not expecting this, doesn't dodge and is covered head to toe in slime. Ugh, why you... The witch slowly begins to burn, steam rising from her skin. What is this? The witch comes to a sudden realization that part of what makes up a slime is water. The witch melts down to the floor and seeps through the cracks into her death, her clothes, hat, and a wand. In the clothes, it seems there's a gold key. Perhaps it's to the gold door that you saw before. Iggy retorts back to his own form. The magical effects faded upon the witch's death, so here you can either loot the witch or just take the key. I'm gonna loot the witch. Iggy loots the witch, taking her hat, wand, and the key. Iggy places the hat on his head and keeps the wand and key in his body since he does not have any arms. He looks around at the witch's room filled with potions and empty vials, books, and floating lanterns. It is a cozy room. Iggy leaves the room with his new loot and heads to the gold door. Maybe this is how he can get home? Then again, the barrier should theoretically be down since the witch is dead. So you can open the door or go see if the barrier is down. I'm gonna show one little secret. Iggy's gonna open the door. If you go see if the barrier is down here, what you'll see is that the barrier is in fact down and there's a little road sign pointing to where Iggy lives. He lives in the Crystal Glade. He's gonna hop away home if you pick that option. If you open this door, you find the witch's portal. So Iggy inserts the key into the gold padlock and it drops to the ground. The gold door slowly cracks open. The room glimmers in golden light and stardust emanating a large mirror on the wall. The mirror has an intricate gold frame with carved angel and devil wings cascading around it. The mirror is not reflecting Iggy's image, but rather a beautiful glade with gold, ruby, and topaz-colored leaves falling gently into the forest floor. A small house is embedded into what looks to be the bottom of a large oak tree. Next to it, a tiny garden filled with beets and carrots. Iggy jumps with joy. Home! Iggy goes to hop into the portal, but stops himself and looks at you. I guess this is goodbye, huh? Will I see you again? Now here you can say maybe or of course. Iggy will prefer of course. Iggy jumps with joy. Oh, thank goodness. I was worried you were going to say no. I'll see you soon, I hope. Iggy hugs the screen and hops off into the mirror. You see Iggy bounce inside of his cute little home in the Crystal Glade. Shortly, he comes out of his house with his wife and kids, and they hop in your direction, their way of waving goodbye. Now here you'll wave back. So you wave back at Iggy and his slime family. The screen fades, and you're left with the final words of this journey, the end. This was pretty fun to make. There's some typos, obviously, that I have to fix. But this is how you get through the game the simplest way. Now, I'm going to show you the other endings real quick. So we just did wave back. If you try to fight the witch, loot the witch, and you go to see if the barrier is down. So you and Iggy leave the witch's house, and you see that the barrier is down. Surrounding the property are small hills with a dirt road. Looking closer, you can see a wooden road pole with a few signs. One reads Ruby Wood and jumps for joy. Crystal Glade is just south of Ruby Wood. I'm free. It goes to hop away towards the signpost, but stops himself and turns around sadly and says, I guess this is goodbye, huh? And you'll basically have the same ending as Wave Back, but he'll just hop away over the hill. This is when he goes back to the cell. It's a sadder ending, so he goes back reluctantly, and he spends his days in the cold, dark dungeon, just fighting adventurers, and he's so sad. But I don't want to end on a sad note. But this took me so long. Took me 3 weeks, so I hope people will pick the go left option, and then they are left with all those options. Or you can run away and also have a chance to go through all those options. This is my little game about how little monster slime is trying to get home by fighting adventurers and defeating a witch.